conversations like you need to. It's explicit conversation. So much of what we think about in terms of money is implied. A lot of it, we don't even think about how and why we come up with our conclusions about money. We don't even have these explicit conversations with each other. So the central problem is communication, and it is expressed in conflict with money, conflict with all sorts of expectations that you have in relationships. And part of it comes from the fact that people just aren't having the right conversations. They're not, when they are expressing how they feel and what they think, people aren't interpreting it correctly. And there's so much that gets gobbled up where people aren't able to have really good conversations where you're fleshing out all of the details of how you want your business to operate. How do you want your family to operate, and having those expectations that are in you that's implied, making it explicit. And areas where you disagree, that's where you pause and you say, okay, here's a disagreement. Let's detangle that and let's find out where you're coming from, not to convince another person to be a duplicate of you, but to try to get a better understanding of where somebody's coming from. And that's the hallmark of a good relationship, healthy relationships. And so when it becomes awry and things run amok, and you just like disregarding people's perspective and where they're coming from, that's where you have issues. Money is a sore spot. So of course, that's going to be a place that's so emotionally charged. It's an emotionally charged topic anyway. And, that's where disagreements happen. And some people can never recover from it. And hopefully what we've presented is a really good objective path of which people can use in their families, in their businesses, amongst task groups, however you sit down and talk about how you're going to plan your business, how you're going to plan your life. It's a great template for that.
Okay, well, with that said, let's go with the template and kind of look at. I'm going to let you take a big part of the lead here in terms of the topic, and what I'll do is I'll kind of get in where I fit in on the areas that I think I can make a contribution. But you're the therapist, and I think that it's best to kind of start with that. So you laid out a whole series of topics that we would cover over the past 6 weeks. Anybody who wants to see all the recordings and everything else, you can go to theloveandmoneylab.com and use the code word Black Love 2024. That'll give you a big chunk off of the lifetime access fee. So it's theloveandmoneylab.com. And also, in case you don't know, in case this is your first week, Dr. Alicia, the reason that she's passionate about this topic is because she's a therapist. She's a licensed therapist, but she trains other therapists. That's how good she is. And my doctorate's in finance. So we figured that blending love and money together in this way would help some people. And speaking of the blend, the last topic you have listed here that I'm looking at, I have it right in front of me, is you talk about just that blending of love and money, blending relationships and money. So I'm going to read a statement that you wrote on this slide, and I'm going to let you address it first, and then I'll just fill in the void in terms of anything that I see that might need to be said. So you say here that blending relationships with financial management requires a delicate balance, emphasizing transparency, respect, and shared values. Transparency, respect, and shared values. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think having open discussions, particularly about money matters, and grounding those discussions in mutual understanding, I think it was a great opportunity to strengthen the relationships. And I think it's also critical to just recognize and respect everybody's point of view, right? And so transparency is just saying, okay, let me tell you what's going on with the business and the money. And I'm a little embarrassed by this, talking about your feelings too, but I invested in this and it didn't go the way I wanted to, but this is what I learned. How can you help me move forward? It's just having those kind of sticky conversations, and it creates an atmosphere of respect where you feel more comfortable opening up and sharing stories that's uncomfortable. And that's in seeing it in a way where here's where I used to be, but this is what I've learned from it, even though I made these mistakes.